Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're gonna be reacting to
How China is building an army of hackers.
oh
As long as there've been computers, there have been people finding ways
I know
to
a little bit
infiltrate
about
them.
this.
And
What do you know a little bit about?
Okay, those the Wi-Fi, those smart appliances, they're all hackable. You can have someone watching your every move,
Yes.
and you think you're protecting yourself. You're not.
So you're saying if it's built in China, don't buy it?
I'm questionable.
I mean, there is logic to what you're saying. Like, who the fuck knows?
Like
Manipulate that.
I got a, what do you call it, the room, like, it's not a Roomba, but it's like the Roomba,
The
but it's
robot?
from the robot from
Right.
China, like that vacuums. Sometimes I wonder,
If
I
it
question,
vacuums
yeah,
by itself, it gets up and vacuum while you sleep.
yeah, and it's
You wonder
watching.
that?
I don't know.
them and disrupt them.
Massive and ongoing Chinese hack.
Investigating a Chinese hack
Of major telecommunications companies.
Cyber espionage is really a normal fact of life, but the growth and intensity of China's cybersecurity industry, including its hacking, has taken the world by surprise.
China has gone after electrical grids, water treatment facilities, and telecoms associated with the United States. Critical infrastructure.
The Chinese may not be as sophisticated as the United States, but on every level, China has been moving with substantial determination.
Last year, a Chinese cybersecurity firm had its secrets basically leaked online. It was really astonishing because it gave us an insight into the inner workings of Chinese cybersecurity.
China has, over the last 20 years, systemically tried to grow and shape its hacker ecosystem into something that it can plug directly into its cyber operations.
Their goal in accessing and maintaining access to those systems is to provide military leadership the option to stop their function.
Okay, let's get started. Are you ready? Yes, sir.
But what is the goal? Like to take like secrets, military secrets, or like
The
money?
goal?
Like, yeah, what is the overall
Secrets,
goal?
obviously spying, yes, but also
Yeah, to know what exactly, like, if we're flipping
where they
over.
at? Where they at? In development of nuclear weapons, military weapons, that. But also, I think just to have control of the power grids, to because imagine if you want to weaken America, you knock down the power grid of DC, of New York, and there's no you saw how it just happened in Spain, and there's
Yeah.
my first thought was hackers, and they're like, oh no, it's not hackers, it's tectonic plates, some shit, magnetic field, I don't know.
But is it
Hackers.
is it there to their benefit for the US to crumble like this because they have a lot of money
No,
invested?
not you. Oh, okay, that's a great
Or
point.
is it just more like a parent just watch?
May
to know.
maybe to hold it hostage. That's just like, oh,
Yeah.
you're not gonna, if US decides to, let's say, let's not pay China back. They say, oh, you're not gonna pay us back. Watch this. Boom, knock down one city out of the power.
I think
You still don't want to
so.
pay us?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
Like
that's
an
the,
insurance policy
Yeah.
for them.
and to be fair, let's not sit here and pretend that's China bad, America good. I'm sure every country has their own.
No, I feel
so
like everyone
this
is
everybody
doing
has
a
it,
version
yeah.
of this, but I never heard like in the news, oh, U.S. agents was caught on security cam over in Indonesia.
Well, we saw Snowden, right? We had that.
Yes, yes.
Aside from that, I feel like what happens in US, maybe what doesn't necessarily happen in China, is the best and brightest in US, they don't really go into the government work. They go into private, make money. In China, best and brightest, because I don't know if you have the freedom as you do here in the States to make money. So might as well go in the government where you get really good benefits and pay. And so I think China might have the better brains in the cybersecurity division, yeah, in their cybersecurity government division versus here, because I truly believe like here the biggest ones, the best ones, they just go to the private sector. They don't really go for
And
the.
you think they're like the good hats, not the bad hats?
Well, they're just money hats. Let's just do whatever the money. They just go after the money. They don't care for the country. They don't do it for patriotism. They do it for the money. Versus I feel like if you like work in cybersecurity and you go work for the government, well, if you don't care about money, I guess if you really just love the
feel like they get paid high in government, no?
I think about how the money
Okay.
in private compared to, I think it's
Because then in private, what
pennies
I
on
feel
the
like
dollar.
the private at some point has to work with the government because they just have so much good technology.
True, I
So
do
I'm
believe
trying to
so.
understand what would be a private institution if it's not even considered by the government. Oh, we need you guys to work with us. Like,
Well, there's consulting, security consulting firms. Those are bringing like the companies, like big companies hire those companies, stuff like that. I'm not like obviously I don't know how the government works. I don't work for the government, never have. But
well, based on the movies, if you're really good and you get caught and you're
right,
facing a lot of time, they say, "Do you want to work
based
with
on
us?"
the movies, I
Yes.
think the government's best chance to getting good brain is to catch them in act.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. I don't know. Maybe that's not how it
Or
is.
like a narcissist who just wants to flex on the government. Like, let me show you how to solve this.
3, 2, 1.
This is one of many global hacking competitions. Since 2007,
Wow,
Pwn to
this
Own
is
has
so
attracted some of the world's best
cool.
hackers, or researchers.
Oh,
Not all hackers are criminals with malicious intentions.
I wish I could do something like that. My coding skills is like HTML, Dreamweaver. But if you ask me to make a mean MySpace page, I could do that. Ooh.
With a focus on real-world devices, their goal is to find weaknesses or holes in
That is
software
so cool.
known as vulnerabilities and exploit them for a cash prize.
That is,
Now you can
that
see
is
inside
brilliant.
the RF enclosure we have a
This
camera
year,
here.
we're doing EV chargers, including the Tesla wall connector. Many people don't realize that an EV charger actually can communicate to a vehicle and vice versa. Let's say you pull up to a charger and you just plug in your car, you come back later, your car's charged, you drive off. Now, unbeknownst to you, your vehicle was compromised.
This was an episode on.
A few days later, you might need to charge again. Then you went to a second charging station and your vehicle compromised a second EV charger. So it keeps spreading and spreading and spreading. And once you take over a vehicle like that, you can do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
You could potentially mess with
I
systems
can never
that
have a
really operate the
virus.
function of the
But
car.
dang.
And in the worst case scenario,
When you
could
think
take
of
over
it, the car for the fact it can tell you where is the blind spots, it's already like can be hackable. I don't think we're safe. You really need a dummy car.
Yes, okay, so it can be hackable, but for like regular cars that just have the blind spot monitors, not like that, do not communicate with the outside world, you would have to physically get to the car port,
The computer?
the port that's under the steering wheel to actually hack it. But yes, it is doable though. It is definitely doable. But
So if you're a
you need
target,
physical
they're
access.
gonna
Yeah,
get you.
if you're a
Please.
target, you probably gonna get got.
Yeah.
But for regular people, like you cannot do it massively as they showed here, because but you can't just spread it over the air, right?
You're right.
Those type of vehicles have to connect to some sort of network, and regular cars don't really connect to them. However, we are approaching to a point where even like the cars that you can unlock on your phone.
Oh yeah.
No, thank you. I'm
yeah.
good.
Especially as time is moving on.
Yeah.
The standard for a car, blind spot monitor is a must. Now I think what's the next step? Self-driving is gonna be a must.
the autopilot of one of the self-driving cars and actually cause a wreck with the self-driving capability.
Did you know?
So that's one of the
your
things that
car,
we were really...
when you buy those cars, it's not automatically self-driving. You have to pay for the software.
I didn't know, but it makes sense.
Looking to see this year, not to just get bugs identified, but to get them fixed before they're exploited by someone on the black market.
All right, we had a success.
Congratulations.
They were able to get it on their second attempt, so they will head off to the disclosure room to talk about all of the details.
Once escorted off stage, this hacking team must then share the vulnerabilities they've found directly with the company, in this case, Tesla.
From the minute it's done, the vendors are able to start working on fixes.
Teams from 13 countries, including Vietnam, France, Germany, and North America, are taking part,
North
but none
America
from
country
China.
now?
There was a time,
I
however,
wonder
when
if they're
Chinese
offered
teams
a
were
job after, like, okay, let's just hire you.
an unstoppable force.
Teams from Tencent and 360 Qihu, they did very well in years past, and they really saw Pwn to Own as an opportunity to show their research prowess.
That's so cool.
They stopped in 2018 after the Chinese government decided to restrict Chinese teams being able to compete in competitions outside of China.
This is a chessboard where people test their skill, imagination, and daring, because it's also a map
This absence from international competitions was one of several government policies that many cybersecurity experts believe is part of a broader strategy developing in China for over a decade.
When Xi Jinping comes into power in 2013,
that's a good game move. That's a big brain move. He's like, why are you helping the American companies? Come over here.
Yeah.
Edward Snowden had already leaked documents from the NSA detailing U.S. offensive capabilities. They're watching the Arab Spring happen. They're very aware that regime instability can occur from lack of control over content on the internet.
Where is Snowden?
They made a decision to really go deep and hard on this and invested in their talent, invested in their programs, invested in their tech.
From 2015 to 2017, the government put a bunch of policies in place at universities that improved the cybersecurity degree curriculum. In 2018, they started promoting hacking competitions through government ministries.
They ended up spinning up a very famous hacking competition called Tianfu Cup. The difference between Tianfu Cup and other international hacking competitions was that Tianfu Cup would take vulnerabilities and feed them straight into the Chinese intelligence community. So say you, a Chinese researcher, have a really cool vulnerability that you found in the iPhone and you exploit it at this competition. The organizers of that competition will take that very cool iPhone vulnerability and send it to the Chinese police, who will then use it to spy on the Uyghur population in Xinjiang. We know that that happened back in 2021.
And finally, in 2021, they rolled out a policy that has not been matched anywhere else in the world. The regulation on the management of software vulnerabilities requires businesses, quote, doing business in China to provide software vulnerabilities to the government within 48 hours of them becoming aware of them.
That means the government gets...
There's no payment? I don't think there's no payment.
I mean, that's not a bad idea to provide vulnerability to fix them.
almost immediate access to newly discovered vulnerabilities. The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs has stated that the regulation's aim is to prevent the leakage and unauthorized disclosure of vulnerable information. It also supports reporting these vulnerabilities to the product providers directly.
I feel like
While the US government is also known to collect vulnerabilities,
there's a system crash and they say, oh, would you like to report this?
This is not what we're talking about.
researchers and companies are not legally obliged to disclose information to them.
We're talking about agencies like the Central Intelligence Agency and the National Security Agency who have discovered vulnerabilities that they don't want to reveal so that they can attack systems in other countries. China's the same.
In many ways, Chinese and US hacking teams have similar goals.
I mean,
They
I think it's
want
similar
to
here
control the
too,
information
because
environment.
once you find the vulnerability and how to solve it, that information becomes proprietary information. So they probably sign a waiver and they say, okay, we keep this information.
Yeah, the companies pay bounties
Yeah.
for finding bugs. Yeah.
They're also potentially preparing their military for cyber action in the event of an attack.
As part of that strategy, and to compete alongside other cyber superpowers, China's state-sponsored hacking competitions have grown significantly.
In the United States, the hacker competitions are far more decentralized than they are in China. But in the Chinese case, and in hacker competitions globally, is that really amazing talents are regularly exposed and then sucked up by the intelligence agencies or by clever corporations.
According to an Atlantic Council report, 129 different hacking competitions have occurred in China since 2004, with most starting after Xi Jinping came into power. The largest of which was the state-sponsored Wongding Cup, hosting 35,000 participants. In 2024, the world was offered a rare glimpse into this hacking ecosystem through a purported data leak from Chinese cybersecurity firm iSoon, a leak that industry experts believe to be authentic. The documents posted to code-sharing site GitHub seem to suggest the Chinese government contracts smaller private firms to hack on its behalf.
There were some pretty interesting documents that showcased the hackers inside iSoon doing the operations themselves. There's chat logs between multiple engineers in iSoon over WeChat going, hey, do you think you can get into this system? The person responds with, yeah, like 80% chance, and if I don't get in, I'll leave immediately. And then a couple of seconds later, you see the chat bubble go mail server, meaning that they got into the Outlook inbox of whoever they were hacking at the time. The other particularly unique element that is revealed in the iSoon documents is how pervasive hacking is in the Chinese state. iSoon itself had contracts not just with national or provincial law enforcement, but also city law enforcement branches. This is the equivalent of the Pittsburgh or Cincinnati, Ohio Police Department contracting out services to a bunch of hackers.
I'm surprised. I would be surprised if they don't do. Like, why not? Ain't no way Cincinnati Police Department can afford like a legit hacker. No fucking way. So they have to outsource it. It makes sense.
It showed the link between not only the cybersecurity firms with the government, but also the through line from these hacking contests and the vulnerabilities that they discover going to a lot of these firms that they then use to ostensibly hack on behalf of the Chinese government.
iSoon employees and government officials have now been charged by US prosecutors.
Chinese hackers busted. The department is accusing China's intelligence services of hiring the suspect to target specific victims with these cyber attacks.
In response, China has denied involvement with iSoon and accused the US of conducting its own cyber espionage attacks.
作为全世界最大的黑客帝国，美方的相关做法是虚伪的双重标准，更是典型。
The tensions between the US and China have really rippled across the world, and a lot of the
Yeah, that's the thing. Those hackers in the countries like Russia, China, they have the roof over their head. They can do whatever they want for those countries because there's really no consequences. So, a hacker here, like if you want to hack somebody, steal money, steal credit cards, whatever, you're risking, you're risking prison time. In those countries, do crime, commit crime in America, steal from Americans, steal from Europeans. Who gives a fuck? The government is gonna protect you. They're not gonna give you up. So, there's no punishment. You're free.
The consequences of that have taken the form of cyber espionage campaigns and disruption campaigns.
The targets include phone companies and state agencies in India, Malaysia, and Taiwan, as well as the British government and a couple of think tanks in London.
They like to always steal cell phones.
What do you mean?
Like how to infiltrate like in cell phones, because everyone have their banking information, private information, sensitive informations. Because the number one thing that I've seen stolen and always end up in the Chinese market is cell phones.
According to news reports, in the last year, 2 suspected Chinese state-backed hacking groups have been identified in US infrastructure. One, called Salt Typhoon by Microsoft, was allegedly tied to a breach of the US Treasury, as well as telecommunication networks.
So Verizon, AT&T, Lumen had call data and call records taken of many US citizens that were already in the hands of that company.
Meanwhile, the FBI says another group known as Vault Typhoon has also infiltrated critical infrastructure.
The term that the experts use is called living off the land. So you can't see them because they're not doing anything out of the ordinary. They're existing within the environment that they have embedded themselves into. So that makes them really, really hard to detect.
Hi, are you Jamie?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Kate, nice
How's
to
it
meet
going?
you.
Dragos is a US-based industrial control systems security firm with miniature facilities that simulate how critical infrastructure could be hacked.
It's all connected through, networks for the most part, and some of these could be accessible from the internet. That's kind of a large vulnerability to it. What I have set up here is just a computer that's outside of the network. It's trying to get into the network, and just using the tools that are available on the laptop, of just figuring out how to get into the system. So I'm just checking if normal remote access tools are going to be available and log in as though I were the operator and adjust the water flow. So here you'll see it.
An intruder in key systems opens up countries to potential disruption attacks, crippling them in times of conflict or unrest.
So let's say the electricity has been compromised and now no one has power in the city. You may have a generator backup that uses oil, but your oil refinery now has no power, so you're not making any more oil either. So it kind of has this domino effect where even your backups or the things that power your backups will slowly become unavailable as resources run out.
So the hospital would be in trouble.
They should have generators, but yes, they would be in trouble within a day.
And all the other kind of critical services would also be impacted.
Yeah.
Experts say a recent Vault Typhoon hack on the US territory of Guam, which has the closest military base to Taiwan, may be part of a strategic cyber warfare plan. According to a Bloomberg investigation, hackers hit telecom, federal and military networks and may never fully be removed.
having Guam's systems be impacted in that way has really put out the signal that the military forces in the US may be disabled from being able to respond in a way that is immediate and urgent.
Yeah, and like in terms of military, you can affect communications too. Like imagine if they go on a offense, but something happens and they need to communicate or call for backup, and the hackers are in the system, cut off the line. You can't call for backup. You fucked.
一贯坚决反对并依法打击黑客攻击行为，敦促美方停止利用网络安全问题污蔑抹黑中国。
The United States information and communications technology sector has been booming for about 50 to 70 years. The Chinese telecommunications sector has been booming for about 20 years. It's pretty hard to imagine that China could have overtaken the United States. China distinguishes itself mostly by the scale of its operation, by the way in which it penetrates almost anything.
To quantify what we're up against, the PRC has a bigger hacking program than that of every major nation combined. In fact,
when it comes to mitigating risks against Chinese hacking activity, it's not very likely that you're going to prevent a Chinese hacker from wanting to keep doing what they're doing. However, being able to push for more international norms around responsible disclosure, around making sure that technology stays safe online is a really important policy position.
In China, when they're doing their code, is in numbers or in their language?
The code is not in numbers. The code is in code, like in the language.
Code language?
In code language, yeah. They're using the same languages we're using over here. Okay, so I guess theoretically it's possible they have like a Chinese language. I'm not aware of one. I don't really see why they need one. I mean, the regular languages, C++, Java, whatever, should be sufficient. I don't. But maybe they have their own language. I don't know.
Western governments are trying to continue to push.
Interesting.
There's this one hack that moms buy baby monitors, and it's being watched by a whole host of people who pay to watch this kind of footage.
Yeah, but any device that connects to the internet, it's
scary.
It's just don't connect nothing to the internet. Basically, that any like camera connected to the internet, I assume is always can be watched. That's the best to disconnect it from the internet.
Can I check the comments? Even when they say when you connect on Wi-Fi, someone can see what you're doing on the Wi-Fi.
Man in the middle attack. Yeah, I mean, can someone? Yes. Is someone watching you? Probably no. You're not that important.
I know.
So, like, is it? Yeah. Can people see it? Yes, they can. But you have to be targeted. Like you, me. No, people watching this video, nobody's targeting us, guys, so we can feel sleep safe.
But in our government, where you saw, they accidentally added someone into the chat. If that's able to happen, I can imagine if they're not being watched.
Government? Oh yeah, government officials, they're definitely being watched for sure. Chinese hackers, American cybersecurity.
Why is our thing just glitched? We're being watched right now.
Well, your phone probably gave a 20% notification. There's an old Chinese saying, "The thief cries, stop thief." I guess basically those who are crying are the ones that are stealing. That's the idea. Americans.
Oh, I get it. There was something similar to that in a saying in Greek.
I don't know. Americans be like, we have right to do anything, but when others doing it, it's wrong. Yeah. I
mean, it's because you feel like, okay, if it's in your country, okay, they have your back supposedly, but if it's another country, they don't have your interest.
Well, okay, so yeah, I have some thoughts, but our camera died, so time to wrap it up.
Okay, guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord. And as always, share as much kindness as possible.